See here. So in the previous class, we successfully finished the topic features of Java. So in the first session, we clearly discussed about what is Java, what is the purpose of Java, what are the parts of Java. In the second session and third session, we discussed about all these features of Java. So this Java is the platform independent programming language. Platform means combination of operating system and microprocessor is called platform. So this Java application, the application developed in Java, the software developed in Java can run on any operating system and on any microprocessor. So that's why we are calling this as the platform independent. And it is the mission independent. The software developed in Java can run on many machines like smartphone, tab, personal digital assistants, routers, Blu-ray DVD players. So we can run on many machines. This Java is a compiled and interpreted programming language because in the JVM execution engine, one interpreter is there and as well as JIT compiler is there. Initially, Java was interpreted programming language. In the Java 3 version, in the Java 3rd version, they added JIT compiler to improve the performance. And next, this Java is a pure object-oriented programming language because we define each and every member instead of the class. And next, this Java is the portable programming language. This Java is the portable programming language because uh, it is the result of platform independency and machine independency. So without making any changes to the application, we can run on any operating system, on any machine, on any microprocessor. That feature is called portable. Easily we can move from one system to another without making any changes. Okay, so next one is robust. We are calling Java as the robust programming language. Robust means strong. So automatic memory management is there and exception handling feature is there. Because of these two reasons, we are calling robust Java as the robust programming language. And this Java is the secured programming language. Many security problem oriented concepts they didn't add, and Java's bytecode is secured. And next we discussed about dynamic. Java is the dynamic programming language. Everything will be done at runtime only. Memory allocation, so linking with the Java library classes, everything will be done at runtime only. There is no question of static memory allocation. Okay, next it is a simple and familiar programming language because all the confusion oriented concepts they didn't add to the Java, and most of the syntaxes they have taken from C and C++, so we feel familiar to us. And next it is the distributed programming language. We can develop distributed applications. If same application is resided on many machines, that is distributed application. Okay, we can develop distributed applications, and it is the multi-threaded programming language. So multiple parts of the same program can be executed simultaneously. That concept is called multi-threading. So due to the multi-threading and due to the JIT compiler, high performance is there for Java. So till here we discussed in the previous session. Now in today's session, I want to talk about what is the structure of a Java program and what are the data types provided by the Java. Listen carefully. Now we are going to entering into the programming part. Listen. Okay, just a minute. Yes. See here. Now let me explain about structure of a Java program. Structure of a Java program. See, you already know that C language is the procedure oriented programming language. C language is the procedure oriented programming language. Procedure oriented programming language means we write program in the form of functions. We write the program in the form of functions. Whereas the C++, Java, these are the object oriented programming languages. So Java is the object oriented programming language, means we write the program in the form of classes and objects. We write the program in the form of classes and objects. We write the program in the form of classes and objects. Okay, I already told in Java we define each and every member instead of the class. So that's why we are calling this as the pure object oriented programming language. So Java is the pure object oriented programming language because we define each and every member instead of the class. So we write the program in the form of classes and objects. Java program we write in the form of classes and objects because it is object oriented. So we define the class here. Class, you can give any name as the class name. So here we give the class name. Here we give the class name. So class name, then starting point of class, ending point of class. In the class, generally we define properties and methods. Properties and methods. We define properties and methods. So what are properties? What are methods? Everything I will explain clearly later. Just to see the observe the structure of the Java program. So like this, we can define any number of classes. So just simply we define the class by using the class keyword. Use class keyword, then give the class name here. In the class, we define properties and methods. So like this, we can define any number of classes. Class name, in the class, place properties and methods. So we can define any number of classes. Finally, we define main method class. For the main method class also, we give class name, starting point of class, ending point of class. But in this, we define main method. In this, we define main method. See the syntax. How can we define this main? Main. Okay, this main can take string array as the argument. So we must write string array as here. And this main method must be public. And this main method must be static. And this main method cannot return any value. So we write void. This is the syntax. So whenever we are defining main method, we write like this: public, static, void, main. In the parenthesis, we are writing string array as. As is the array name. That is the identifier. You can give any name, not only as, you can give any name. Okay, this is the starting point of main, this is the ending point of main. So generally, instead of main, we create the objects of the classes. So here we are defining the classes. For these classes, we create the objects here. So with the help of objects, we invoke the members. With the help of objects, we invoke the members. Invoking means calling. We call the members. We call the methods. Okay, so this syntax we have to follow. This is the structure of Java program. So we write the Java program in the form of classes and objects. So to define the class, what is the structure? We give class name, okay, some properties and methods. We define instead of the class. So like this, we can define any number of classes. Finally, we define main method class. So give class name. In the C++, we define main method outside of the class. Whereas in Java, including main, we define inside of the class only. So this is the main method we are defining inside of the class. So to define the main, we write like this: public, static, void main, string array as, starting point of main, ending point of main. In between that, we create the objects and we invoke the members. So this structure we have to follow. So above of class, outside of the class, if you want to write some import statements, sometimes we write import statements to say the path of the class. To say path of the class, we write import statements. To say path of the class, we write some import statements here. Okay, and sometimes we write package statements here. When if you want to create the package, we specify package statements here. Okay, so package statements, then import statement. Writing package statements is optional. Writing import statements is optional. Okay, and minimum one class is required to write the Java program. Minimum one class is required to write the Java program. Okay, so package statements, import statements, writing multiple classes is optional. So minimum one class is required, and that class should have main method. So this is mandatory. This thing is mandatory. Remaining things are optional. So this is the structure of the Java program. Okay, now you may get a doubt. So in the main, see, so how can we give the class name? Class names must be different. Class name should be unique. Okay, main method we define inside of the class. I will explain every point clearly. Listen. See, In the C++, we define class like this. Class, you can give any class name. Okay, so here we give the class name. For example, I am giving class name as Durgasoft. Starting point of class, ending point of class. So like this, we can define any number of classes. So this class A, this is class B. So this is in the C++. In the C++. In the C++, we define main outside of the classes. Outside of the classes, here we define the main method. Okay, this is in C++. Whereas in case of Java, we define main method instead of the class only. In Java, we define each and every member instead of the class. So where we define main method instead of the class only. Okay, this class name must be unique. Class name must be unique. Okay, yes. Did you get my point, Kiran? You asked two doubts. So where we are defining main method instead of the class. Okay, and class name cannot be same. Class name should be unique. Class name should be different. Is it okay? Yes. See here. So this is the structure of Java program. So in this, now I want to talk about what is this main actually. Why we have tried this much lengthy, public, static, void. So what is the meaning of this one? Now let me explain about main method. Listen carefully here. So this is the structure of a Java program. We write Java program in the form of classes. We write class, class name. In the class, we define properties and methods. We can define any number of classes like this. Class name should be unique. Okay. So finally, we define main methods class. So in this class, we are defining the main method. Main method must be public, static, and main method cannot return any value. So write void. It takes a string array as the argument. Okay. So here we create the objects and we invoke the members. This is a structure we have to follow to write the Java program. So now, what is this main actually? Okay. Now let me explain about main method. Okay. Main method. So what is main? Main is a method. Main is a method. So this main is a method. This main method is entry point of the program. Main method is entry point of the program. So in a program, many classes can be there and many methods can be there. In a program, we can define many classes and many methods. Then where the program execution has to be started, that point is main method. So main method is the entry point. Each and every program execution, each and every Java program execution starts from each and every Java program execution starts from main only. Starts from main method. So that's why we are calling this as the entry point. In a program, we can define any number of classes and we can define any number of methods. Then where the program execution has to be started, that point we are telling here. So the program execution, even if any number of classes can be there, even if any number of methods can be there, program execution must be started from main only, because it is the entry point of the program. Each and every program execution starts from main only. It is the entry point of the program. Okay, so generally to define the method, four ways are there. In the C language, you learn a function can be written in four ways. You learn like this. A function can be written in four ways. A function can be written in four ways based on argument and return. What are those four ways? First one is no argument. In the C language, already you learned no argument, no return. Okay, argument, no return, argument, no return, no argument but return, no argument but return. Fourth one is argument and return. So based on argument and return, we can write a function in four ways. What are those? No argument, no return, argument, no return, no argument but return. Next one is argument and return. So like this, we can define a function in four ways. In the C language, we are calling that as a function. Whereas in the Java, that function, if we are defining instead of the class, we are calling that as a method. So the difference between function and method is a function defined instead of class is called a method. A function defined outside of the class is called function. If a function is inside of the class, we call that as a method. So a method can be defined in how many ways? A method can be defined in 4 ways. What are those 4 ways? No argument, no return. Argument, no return. No argument, return. Argument, return. You already know it. Argument means just like input for the method. So for example, we are writing like this: add int x, int y, starting point of method, ending point of method. To add those two values, we write x plus y like this. To return the value, we use the keyword return. So this is returning integer value. We write return type as int. So this is called one method. Here that is taking the arguments and that is returning the value. So this is which type? Argument return type. So like this same method you can write in how many ways? 4 ways. This is argument and return, means that is taking the input into the function, into the method, and that is returning output outside of the method. So like this, how many ways are there? 4 ways are there. So method can take the arguments, you already know it. Similarly, what is main? Main is a method. Main is a method. So generally method can be defined in how many ways? 4 ways. A method can be defined in 4 ways. These are the 4 ways. For example, I am defining a method like this. I am defining a method like this. Add int x comma int y. Here I am writing the printing statement. So system.out.println. What is this? I will explain later. Everything I will explain. Just try to understand. I want to print x plus y value. So I'm writing x plus y expression here. I'm writing x plus y value here. Okay, so this is the method now. This is the method that is taking the arguments here, but that is not returning any value. So generally, if the method is not returning any value, we write return type as void. In the C language, you already learned. So void is also a data type that indicates that is returning nothing. Void means empty, nothing. To indicate that, we use this data type. So this method is not returning any value, so we are writing void. And this method is taking two integer values as the arguments. Similarly, for the main method, this main method can take the arguments. Observe here, for the main method, which one is the argument? String array as is the argument. For the main method, string array as is the argument. Here for this add method, int first argument, second argument is also int. If you want to take integer array, you can take integer array like this. If you want to take string array, you can take string array like this. These are the arguments. Okay. So here argument data types are two integers. So similarly here main can take arguments. Main can take which type as the argument? String array as the argument. So main method can take the arguments and cannot return any value. If the method is not returning any value, what we write? Void. So main method cannot return any value, but it takes the argument. Means main method always we define in the second way. A method can be defined in 4 ways, but always we define main method in the second way only. That takes argument, but that cannot return any value. So with this, we can understand that main method cannot return any value. Main method cannot return any value. It cannot return any value. So that's why we must write void. So that's why we write return type as void. That's why we write return type as void. So void is the return type here. For the method, we are specifying the return type. So void is the return type. Okay. So this one is clear. Next, this main method can take the arguments. Which type argument? It can take only string array as the argument. So this main method can take arguments. Main method can take arguments. Main method can take arguments. It can take string array as the argument. It can take string array type as the argument. String array type as argument. Remember this one. Main method can take string array as the argument, and main method cannot return any value. So always we define main method in the second way. Argument, no return. No return means we write void. Argument means always argument type is string array only. So actually from the command prompt, from the ms-dos command prompt, we can pass string values to the main method. Those will be captured here. For that purpose, we are giving it. So it is mandatory. We must write like this only. So main method can take string array as the argument and main method cannot return any value. So that's why we are writing void and string array. So till here, this one is clear. So this is the starting point of method. This is the ending point of method. In between that, we are creating the objects and we are invoking the members. So this main method cannot return any value. So write void. Main method can take string array as the argument. So write string array. Then what about this public and static? So main method must be defined as public. Okay, main method must be defined as public. It must be defined as public. Why? So generally, what is the meaning of public? Public means public member can be accessed from anywhere. Okay, now let me explain. Okay, try to understand. You already if you have C++ knowledge, you can you already know this point. So in the C++ already you learned. So some may not have knowledge on C++, but try to understand. See here, class. I'm giving class name as demo. In this, I'm defining a member as private. I'm defining a member as private. Private X I'm writing. Now this X is the private member. So private member can be accessed within the class only. Private member can be accessed within the class only. It cannot be accessed outside of the class. So private member can be accessed within the class only. It cannot be accessed outside of the class. Okay, so I'm defining a method here. I'm defining a method. So private void method name I'm giving as m1. So now m1 is the method. I'm defining as the private method. So this private method cannot be accessed outside of the class. Private method cannot be accessed outside of the class. For example, I'm defining public method here. I'm defining public method. Public void m2. I'm defining. This m2 is the public method. Public method can be accessed from anywhere. Public method can be accessed from anywhere. But private method can be accessed within the class only. It is not available outside of the class. So private member visibility is within the class only. Whereas public member can be accessed from anywhere. So who is responsible to run the Java application? JVM. So JVM has to call main method. JVM has to call main method from outside of the class. JVM has to call main method from outside of the class and from anywhere. Okay, so that's why we must define main method as a public. So if you define main method as the public, now this public method is available outside of the class. So now this public method is available to the JVM now. JVM calls that main method and execution will be started. So who calls main method? JVM calls main method. So that's why this main method must be available outside of the class. If you define main method as the private, that is not that will not be available for the JVM. So if you define this main method as the public, now this method is available to the JVM. So now JVM can call it. So for this purpose, so JVM has to call this main method from outside of the class. It has to call that method from anywhere. So that's why we must define main method as the public. Remember this one. And next, this main method must be static. Main method must be static. So what is static? What is the meaning of this static? So why we must define main method as a static? Remember, listen carefully here. Listen carefully. I want to some you may understand or you may not understand this point. Okay, but try to understand. So when the classes are going on, you can understand perfectly. Okay, try to understand. I try to explain clearly. See here, listen carefully. So to explain it, I want to explain one C++ program. So here one C++ program is there, class A. This is class A, and this one is class B. This is what this is C++ program. class B. So we write like this. So we can define any number of classes. So I'm defining only one class here. So in this class, I'm defining some methods. So write M1. M1 is the method. Okay. And I'm defining M2 method here. Write M2 method. Okay. So this is starting point of method, ending point of method. In between that, we write the code. Here we are writing the code. Okay. So this is the method. See here. See. So this is the class. So after defining the class, we define main method outside of the class. We define main method outside of the class like this. So here we create object for that class. With the help of object, we invoke the members. With the help of class, we invoke the with the help of object, we invoke the members. So in the public section, we define some methods like this. So now these methods are available outside of the class. So with the help of object, you can call. Okay, so this is the structure of C++ program. So here the point to understand is, observe here, we are defining main method outside of the class here. Whereas if you observe the structure of Java program, we are defining main method inside of the class. In the Java, we are defining main method inside of the class, whereas in the C++, we are defining main method outside of the class. So why we are defining main method outside of the class in C++? Because where object will be created instead of the main. So here object will be created. So object creation will be done in the main. So object will be created instead of the main. Okay. So here we are calling the members. Here we are calling the members with the help of object. We are calling the members with the help of object. So assume that we are defining this main method instead of the class. Assume that we are defining this main method instead of the class now. Now this main is the member of class. Now this main is member of the class A. If you define this main method instead of the class, now object is required to call this main method. So we have to create object of A class. A class object we have to create. So this object is required. With the help of object only we can invoke these methods. So now if main is becoming member of the class A, if main is becoming member of the class, we have to create the object. With the help of this object, we have to call main method. With the help of object, we have to call main method. But where object will be created instead of the main only? Where you write this code, you have to write this code in the main only. But to call main method, object is required. So now here the problem is, object will be created instead of the main only. If main is member of the class, now object is required. So without object, you cannot call main method now. But object will be created instead of the main only. So now object will not be created and main will not get executed. This is the problem here. So this problem is called a circular dependency problem. This problem is called circular dependency problem. So circular dependency problem will occur if you define main method instead of the class in C++. This is in C++. In C++, if we define main method instead of the class, circular dependency problem will occur. So how circular dependency problem will occur? Because if you define main method instead of the class, now object is required. Object is required to call this main method. But where object will be created? Object will be created instead of the main only. So now object will not be created, main will not get executed. Because to create the object, main must get executed. But for main execution, you have to call main with the help of object only. So object will not be created, main will not be called. This problem is called circular dependency problem. Okay, so now to avoid this problem, C++ developers defined this main method outside of the class. So that's why we are defining main method outside of the class in the C++. But as per object-oriented programming standards, so I already told OOPS concepts were introduced in the 1950s. In the late 1950s, OOPS concepts were introduced. OOPS concepts were developed at MIT, private university, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Okay, that private university, that private research center developed OOPS concepts. Based on the OOPS concept, languages were developed like Simula language, first object-oriented programming language, then C++, okay, then Java, then Python. So like this, C Sharp. All these are the object-oriented programming languages developed based on these OOPS concepts only. So as per object-oriented programming standards, as per object-oriented programming rules, each and every member should be defined inside of the class. Should be defined inside of the class. Each and every member should be defined inside of the class. Okay, but the C in the C++, we are defining main method outside of the class. Because of this reason only, we are calling C++ as not object-oriented programming language, not pure object-oriented programming language. C++ is not pure object-oriented programming language because we define main outside of the class. So like main, you can define any number of functions outside of the class. You can declare many variables outside of the class. So that's why this Java is not pure object-oriented programming language. Sorry, C++ is not pure object-oriented programming language. C++ is not pure object-oriented programming language because we are defining main method outside of the class. But if we define main method, if you want to make this as pure object-oriented, if you define this main method instead of the class, now one problem will occur. What is that problem? Circular dependency problem will occur. So now main is the member of the class. If main is the member of class, means object is required. But where object will be created? Instead of the main only. So now main will not be called, object will not be created. This problem is called circular dependency problem. Okay, so that's why in the C++ we define this main method outside of the class. Now software developers had taken this problem as the challenge. They had taken this circular dependency problem as a challenge. They wanted to solve this problem. They wanted to make one pure object oriented programming language, okay, in which we can define each and every member inside of the class. So developers had taken this circular dependency problem as challenge, and they divided members into two types. So now in the members, two types of members are there. What are those two types? First type is static members. Second type is non-static members. First type is static members. Second type is non-static members. So they divided members into two types. So for the static members, listen, for your easy understanding purpose, I'm telling single sentences only. Later, I will discuss clearly what is static, what is non-static, what happens when we use static keyword, what happens when we don't use static keyword. Everything I will clearly explain for your easy understanding purpose, because these are the initial clauses, introduction clauses. For your easy understanding purpose, I am giving only two statements, two sentences. For static members, object is not required to consume static members. So to consume means use. So to use static members, object is not required. Whereas for the non-static members, object is required to consume non-static members. This is a basic point you must remember. So this is the basic point you must remember, you must know it. So if you define main method instead of the class in C++, circular dependency problem will occur because object will be created instead of the main only. object will be created instead of the main only. Okay, if you define main instead of the class, so to call main again object is required. So now object will not be created, main will not be called. Main will not be called, object will not be created. Circular dependency problem will occur. Now software developers had taken this circular dependency problem as a challenge. They wanted to develop one pure object oriented programming language in which we can define each and every member instead of the class, including main. So from this thought, they divided members into two types. Okay, so those are static members and non-static members. For the static members, object is not required. For the non-static members, object is required. Okay, for example, I am defining this main method instead of the class. I am defining main method instead of the class. So what is our problem here in the circular dependency problem? What is our problem? Okay, without object, okay, main cannot be called. Without object, main cannot be called here because main is member of the class. Okay, and when main gets executed, then only object will be created. Then only object will be created. So now main will not be called, object will not be created. This problem is called circular dependency. So without object, main cannot be called here. If main is the method of class, member of class. So without object, main cannot be called. And when main gets executed, then only objects will be created. So main will not be called, objects will not be created. This problem is called circular dependency problem. So here without object, main cannot be called. So if without object, we can call the main method, our problem will be solved. If without object, if we are able to call main method, our circular dependency problem will be solved. So that's why they divided members into two types, static members and non-static members. For the static members, object is not required. So if you define this main method as the static, now object is not required for calling main method. Now object is not required. Directly you can call main method. Now instead of the main, objects will be created. With the help of objects, you can call remaining methods. So that's why we must define main method as a static method in the Java. In the C++, that is not possible. In the C++, that is not pure object oriented programming language. We must define this main outside of the class only. Whereas in case of Java, main method must be static because without object, main must be called. Main must be called by JVM. So without object, main must be available. Main must be available to JVM. Without object, main must be available to JVM. So that's why we define main method as the static. So now JVM calls main method without the object with the class name that calls. Without the object, JVM calls main method. So instead of the main, objects will be created. With the help of objects, you can invoke other non-static members. Okay, so without object, main gets executed here. So our circular dependency problem solved. In the main, objects will be created. So with the help of objects, you can invoke other classes members. You can create objects for other classes. You can invoke other class members. So hence they solved this circular dependency problem by dividing members into two types. One is static members, another one is non-static members. For the static members, object is not required. For the non-static members, object is required. So here main method must be static because without object, main must get executed. Without object, main must get executed. So that's why we must define main method as the static. And this main method must be available from anywhere to the JVM. So it must be defined as public. And this main method cannot return any value. So write return type as void. This main method can take string array as the argument. So write string array as here. So this is the syntax of the main. Okay, so each and every time I will not explain. So directly I write public static void main string array as. So here public is one modifier, static is one modifier, void is the return type, main is the method name, string array is the data type of this variable. So here public static are the modifiers, we have no need to maintain the order of modifiers. You can write public static or you can write static public also, no problem at all. But main method must be static and main method must be public. You have no need to maintain the order. You can write static public or public static because these are the modifiers. For modifiers, we have no need to maintain the order. Okay. So here void is what return type. In front of method name, write return type. In the parenthesis, write string array is. But for this public static, you can write static public also. No need to maintain the order. You can write public static or static public because those are the modifiers. So main method must be static because without object, main must get executed. And main method must be public because JVM has to call this main method outside of the class. And main method cannot return any value, so write void. So main is the method name. String it can take string array as the argument, so write string array as. Not only as, you can give any name here. Okay, x, y, any valid name you can give. So this is about main method. Okay, so this is the structure of C program, structure of Java program. Okay, now I want to write one Java program. Listen. Okay, so I want to print hello on output screen. I want to print hello on output screen. I want to print hello on output screen. So in the C language, to print hello on output screen, we use one function, printf function. In the double quotes, we write hello like this. This is in C language. Whereas in case of C++, in C++, we write cout insertion operator. Here cout is the object. With the help of object, you are calling operator method, operator overloaded method, double less than method you are calling. To the double less than method, you are passing hello as the argument. Okay, so here also you are calling method only. Cout is the object. With the help of object, you are calling overloaded method. Implicitly, that calls method. Double less than means overloaded method will be called. You are passing hello as the argument. This is in C++. So in the C, you are calling printf function. In the C++, you are calling this overloaded method. Whereas in Java, what we do to print hello on output screen. So in C, we are using which method? Printf method. Like that, Java is providing a method. That method name is println method. So just simply we write println method. Println method. Println hello. Okay. So in C language, to print hello, we are writing printf hello. Here printf is the function. In C++, we are writing cout insertion operator hello. We are calling insertion operator method here with the help of cout object. So in the Java, to print hello on output screen, we use one method. What is the method name? Println method. Okay. Now my question is, I already told in the Java they divided members into how many types? This is very, very important. Keep it in your mind. Okay, in the Java they divided members into how many types? Two types. One is static members, another one is, yes, Kiran, yes, you are right, two. What are those? Static members and non-static members. For the non-static members, object is required. For the static members, object is not required. Now my question is, this println is also a method. Println is a method. Is this static method or non-static method? Println, is this static method or non-static method? This is the non-static method. This is the non-static method. Means what? Object is required. Remember, object is required. Okay. So listen carefully here. So what is this println? Println is a method. It is a non-static method. What is the purpose of it? It is used to print the data on console screen, on output screen. Is it to print the data on console screen? You can say output screen, console output screen. So if you want to print the data on output screen, we can use println method, but this method is the non-static method, so object is required. But where they defined this println method? See here, there is a class. That class name is print stream. That class name is print stream class. In the print stream class, they defined Java developers They means Java developers. Java developers defined a method here, println method. Okay, so they defined a method like this. Okay, some argument types, return types. So they followed all the language syntaxes, and they defined this println method. And here they have written some return type. So who defined this println method? Java developers defined this println method in the class print stream. Okay, I already told, in the Java library packages are there. In the Java library packages are there. In the C library header files are there. Like that, in the Java library packages are there. So all the classes and interfaces are placed in particular packages. So they defined this in the java.io package. Try to understand. Okay, you may not understand, but try to understand. Okay, in the java.io package, they developed the class print stream. In the print stream class, they defined a println method. Now we want to call this println method. Now we want to call this println method. So println is the non-static method. So non-static method means object is required. But unfortunately, we cannot create object for this print stream class. Listen carefully. We cannot create object for print stream class. We cannot create object for print stream class. Then how can we use this println method? We cannot create object for print stream class. This is a non-static method. I want to use it, but we cannot create object for the print stream class. Alternative solution is there. The solution is this print stream class object they defined in another class. That class name is system. So in the system class, they defined one variable here. They defined one object here. Okay, that is one property. I already told class contains properties and methods. So println is the method. Okay, so here print stream, this object name is out. Okay, so this out is the property of which type? Print stream type. This print stream class object created in class system. Okay, they defined this member as a static. This is static member. Listen carefully. So out is the static member. Println is the non-static member. So println is the non-static member. So object is required. We cannot create object for this class print stream. But alternative solution is there. This print stream class object defined in the class system. So now what is the object name? Out. What is the object name? Out. So here we use object name dot method name, right? So I am using the object name here. I am using the object name out dot println. So I am using the object name here. Observe, object name is out. So with the help of object, I am calling the method out dot println. Now my question is this out static member or non-static member? This out is the static member. So to access the static member, so they divided members into two types: static, non-static. Non-static means object is required. So println is the non-static method. So object is required. So we are using the object print stream class object out. Okay. But this out is also a member of another class system. This is static member. So for static member, object is not required, but we use the class name to access it. To access it, we use the class name. So what is the class name here? Class name is system. So we must write system.out.println here. So system.out means now this is what object. System.out means this is what? This is the object now. System.out means it acts like object. With the help of object, we are calling the println method. Okay. So here this system.out is the acting like object. Print stream class object. Object of print stream class. So it is object of which class? Print stream class. So with the help of print stream class object, we are calling println method. This println method. Okay, so that's why whenever we are trying to print, we must write system.out.println hello. That's it. So once again, I'm explaining about this statement. Listen carefully here. Okay, and this class system defined in particular package. This class system defined. Just a minute. This class system defined in one particular package. That package name is java.lang package. Java.lang is the package name. Okay. So listen carefully. Once again, I'm repeating. In C language, to print the data in C language, to print the data in C language, what we write? Print f hello. Printf is the function. In C++, to print hello on output screen, we write cout insertion operator. So cout is the object. With the help of object, you are calling the method double less than method, and you are passing hello as the argument. This is in C++. Whereas in Java, to print the data, we use one method. What is that method? Println method. Println method is used to print the data on console screen. So in the Java, there are two types of members: static members, non-static members. So this println is which type? Non-static method. So non-static method means object is required. So where they defined this println method? The class print stream. This print stream class defined in java.io package. So now object is required for this to call this println method. So we need object of print stream class, but we cannot create object of print stream class directly. That is the problem. But alternative solution is there. This print stream class object already defined in the class system, which is defined in the java.lang package. So in the java.lang package, this print stream class object is created here. Object is there. This is a property of print stream. So you can use this one. So that's why we are writing out.println. But this out is also member of another class. That class name is system. Okay, now is this static member or non-static member? It is a static member. So object is not required, but we use the class name. Object is not required. Okay, for the static member, object is not required, but we use the class name. In which class this out member is defined? In the system. So that's why we write system.out. Now system.out is the object of print stream class now. So system.out is the object of print stream class. With the help of object, we are calling println method. So object name dot method name. Okay, now where we write this program? You may get the doubt. Okay, where we write the program? Where we write Java program? Where we write a Java program? Where we write a Java program? Yes, Nandu. This out is the see. That is the implicit thing. That is the implicit thing. Implicitly, this system.out means print stream object will be created. System.out is the object of print stream class. Okay. Object is already created. Object is already defined in the system. So here declare here they declared here. So implicitly that is creating the object of print stream class. Implicitly that is creating the object of print stream class. So that object will be returned. So the system.out is the object of print stream class. That is the implicit thing. Implicitly object will be created. You are using out means implicitly object will be created. Okay. So with the help of object, you are calling println method. Now where we write this Java program? Where we write this Java program? Okay, to write Java program, we can use any text editor. We can use any text editor to write the Java program. You can use any text editor. Like in the Notepad, you can write. In the WordPad, you can write. Or in the MS Word, you can write. Or in the MS DOS, edit command is there. You can use edit command in the MS DOS. In that editor, you can write. And you can use some ready-made IDEs, or you can say them as SDKs, software development kits, IDEs or SDKs like Eclipse is there. Eclipse Eclipse IDE, IntelliJ. So most of the companies use IntelliJ and Eclipse. Okay, and NetBeans also there, but most of the companies will not use this. Okay, very less companies are using this NetBeans. Okay, because of less performance. So very less companies are using NetBeans. So most of the companies use Eclipse and IntelliJ. Okay, so in any text editor we can write the program. So now this first program I write in the notepad. I'm opening notepad now. Listen. So after explaining this program execution, I stop the session. Please listen. I'm opening notepad. So just simply press Windows R. The displays run dialog box. Type notepad here. Type notepad. Okay. Here I'm writing the program now. So write class. I'm giving the class name hello. Starting point of class, ending point of class. In between that, define the main method. So main method we are defining. So main starting point and main ending point. Main starting point and main ending point. Okay. See here. Listen carefully. This main method must this main method can take string array as the argument. This main method cannot return any value. So write void. This main method must be public. So write public here. And this main method must be static. So write static here. So I want to print hello on output screen. So to print the data on output screen, we call which method? Println method. So write println hello. So this println method available in the print stream class. So ready-made object is there. That is out object. So write system.out. So here system.out is the object of print stream class. With the help of object, we are calling the method println method. So this is the code we are writing to print hello on output screen. Okay. So this is the code. And actually, see, I'm saving this program. So later I will talk one point. Okay, I'm saving this program. So whenever we are saving the program, so I want to create one new folder for our batch. So I'm creating a new folder for our batch in the F drive. I'm creating a new folder. So that folder name I'm giving as Java 7 p.m. Okay, I'm giving folder name as Java 7 p.m. Okay, so in the Java 7 p.m. folder, I want to save this program. So whenever we are saving the Java program, the suggestion is give main methods class name as the file name. So the suggestion is give main methods class name. Here main method is defined here. This main method defined in which class? Hello class. So whenever we are saving this program, give main methods class name as a file name. So give hello, then write dot java, hello.java. Java is the extension of Java file. So this is the source code we are writing. Observe carefully here. The source code file is created. Observe in the F drive, I'm opening Explorer. In the F drive, uh, just now we created our folder Java 7 p.m. Just now we created it. 2nd October. Just now we created. I'm opening this one. Okay, sorry. Java 7 p.m. Hello.java. Hello.java. So saved. Successfully saved. Yes. So this is the source code file. Just now we created. See. So this is source code file. Now we have to compile this program. So computer cannot understand this one. This is in high level language, computer cannot understand. So we have to compile the Java program. So to compile the Java program, we have to open the editor, ms-dos command prompt. So how can we open the ms-dos command prompt? Observe. So Windows R I'm pressing. So type cmd. Okay, that is displaying command prompt to us. Go to our program location. Our program stored in which drive? In the F drive. So write F colon here. In which folder? in the Java 7 p.m. folder. So write cd Java 7 p.m. cd Java 7 p.m. Okay, then press enter key. Okay, then then use the command Java C command. Java C. What is the file name? File name is hello.java. Hello.java. So observe in the background, when I press enter key, bytecode file will be created. See here, another file is created with the dot class as the extension. This is called class file. This contains bytecode. This contains bytecode. So this is the bytecode. We cannot understand it. This is the bytecode. See here, system that is displaying. Okay, out that is displaying. Java lang, Java IO print stream. So this is the bytecode. We cannot understand it. I already told println is a member of print stream. Okay. So after compilation, it is generating bytecode file. Okay. So to run this bytecode, who can run this bytecode? Only JVM. So we have to call the JVM now. So to call the JVM, we have to use one command. That command is what? Java. So Java, then give the bytecode file name. Okay. So I already told, give main method's class name as the file name, because this main method's class name that takes this bytecode file name. So for our easy understanding purpose, if same name is there, directly we can run easily by using same name. If you use different name, with a different name, this bytecode file will be created. You have to use different name here, because this is bytecode file name. This is source code file name. This is bytecode file name. So here, if you use Java command, internally JVM will be started. The JVM calls main method, and main method execution started. That prints hello on output screen. See, it's printing hello here. This is the execution process. So hence we can run the Java program. Okay, so to first compile the Java program, then run the Java program. For compilation, we are giving source code file name .java. After that, that's creating bytecode file name. So Java, give the bytecode file name, don't give extension. So hence we can run the Java program. Okay, now you know where we write the program and how can we compile and how can we run everything. Now I'm stopping the session.